Captain Lee Dong-woo stared at the star map display in front of him. The bridge of the human ship Resilience was quiet, except for the soft hum of the engines. They had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach the edge of the galaxy. This was supposed to be a simple exploration mission. "Captain, we're getting some strange readings," said Dr. Park So-jin from her science station. She was the best scientist on the ship, and Lee trusted her completely. Her face looked worried as she studied the data on her screen. Lee walked over to her station. "What kind of readings?" "Gravitational waves. Very big ones. They're coming from a region of space we've never seen before. The waves are so strong they're affecting nearby star systems." So-jin's fingers moved quickly across her controls. "Sir, this is unlike anything we've ever detected." Lee felt a cold feeling in his stomach. In his 20 years of space travel, he had learned to trust his instincts. Something was very wrong. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what we found. Then set course for the nearest space station." 3 days later, emergency messages began flooding in from across the galaxy. Every major alien civilization was detecting the same gravitational anomalies. The Velkari Empire, masters of space and time, were the first to understand what the readings meant. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho received the emergency call while he was having breakfast in his quarters on the Galactic Council station. He had represented humanity for 5 years, but he had never seen such panic among the alien races. "All ambassadors must attend an emergency session immediately," said the mechanical voice over the communication system. Kim hurried to the Great Council chamber. The massive room could hold representatives from over 50 different species. Today, every seat was filled. The air buzzed with nervous energy and strange alien languages. The Velkari ambassador stepped forward. The tall, blue-skinned aliens, usually calm face, showed fear. "We have identified the source of the gravitational disturbances. Ancient records speak of entities called the Devourers. They sleep for millions of years, then wake to feed on entire star systems." A wave of shocked voices filled the chamber. Kim had never heard of these Devourers, but the fear in the alien voices told him everything he needed to know. "How long do we have?" asked the crystal-like Gentari representative. Based on their current movement, the first Devourer scouts will reach inhabited systems within 6 months. The main force will arrive within 2 years. The Morthak Collective's gaseous form shimmered as it spoke. "We must evacuate immediately. Our species will disperse across intergalactic space until the threat passes. The Velkari Empire will phase shift our entire civilization into parallel dimensions," announced the Velkari ambassador. One by one, each species announced their escape plans. The crystalline Gentari would hide in temporal stasis bubbles. The Machine Intelligence Nexus Confederacy would upload themselves to quantum servers and flee to distant galaxies. Every race had a way to run. Kim watched in growing disbelief. These were the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Some had existed for millions of years. They had technology beyond human understanding, yet they were all choosing to run away. "What about the younger species?" Kim asked. "What about The billions of people who don't have the technology to escape? The Velkari ambassador looked uncomfortable. They will have to find their own solutions. Perhaps some will survive. Kim felt anger rising in his chest. These aliens were abandoning entire civilizations to save themselves. He thought of Earth, of the human colonies scattered across hundreds of worlds. Humanity had barely learned to travel between stars, while these aliens could bend space and time. "Ambassador Kim," said the council leader, an ancient being that looked like a floating jellyfish. "What are humanity's evacuation plans?" Kim stood up slowly. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. The silence was complete. He could feel the weight of history in this moment. Whatever he said next would determine humanity's fate. "We don't have evacuation plans," Kim said clearly. The chamber erupted in confused voices. The council leader raised a tentacle for silence. "I'm sorry, Ambassador." "Kim, could you repeat that?" Kim looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. Some showed pity, others confusion. A few looked at him like he was insane. Humanity doesn't have the technology to run away to other dimensions or other galaxies. We can't hide in time bubbles or upload ourselves to quantum computers. We only have our ships and our weapons. "Then what will you do?" asked the Velkari ambassador. Kim took a deep breath. In this moment, he was speaking for all of humanity, for every man, woman, and child who would face the coming darkness. "We'll fight." The chamber fell silent again. Several aliens made sounds that Kim recognized as laughter. "Ambassador Kim," said the council leader gently, "your species is very brave. But this enemy cannot be defeated. The Devourers consumed entire galactic civilizations before your planet even had life. Running is the only option?" Kim looked around the chamber one more time. These beings had knowledge and power beyond human dreams. They had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. But in this moment, they were all cowards. "Maybe you're right," Kim said. "Maybe we can't win. Maybe we'll all die fighting something we don't understand. But we won't run away and leave others to face this alone." He paused, letting his words sink in. "If every race abandons this galaxy, then we battle alone." The silence that followed was different from before. Some aliens looked ashamed. Others looked confused, as if they couldn't understand why anyone would choose certain death over possible survival. Kim gathered his papers and walked toward the exit. Behind him, he could hear the aliens beginning to discuss their escape plans. Again, none of them tried to stop him. As he reached the door, the Velkari ambassador called out, "Ambassador Kim, your species will be destroyed. This is not bravery. This is suicide." Kim turned around one last time. "Maybe. But when the Devourers are finished feeding and move on to the next galaxy, at least they'll remember that someone stood up to them." He left the chamber and headed back to his quarters. He had a message to send to Earth. Humanity would need time to prepare for war. Behind him, the greatest civilizations in the galaxy continued planning their escape, leaving the young human race to face the darkness alone. Admiral Choi Hyun-woo stood in the war room deep inside Earth's military headquarters. The holographic display showed the entire galaxy, with red dots marking where the alien races used to be. Now those areas were empty. Humanity truly was alone. Kandi. Long do we have? Asked General Park Sang-woo, looking at the tactical displays. 6 months until the first scouts arrive. 2 years until the main force reaches human space, Choi replied. We need to use every minute. Dr. Yoon Ji-hai entered the room carrying a tablet full of data. She was Earth's best quantum physicist, and she had been studying everything the aliens had left behind about the Devourers. I have bad news, she said. The Devourers don't exist completely in our normal space. They phase in and out of reality. That's why conventional weapons won't work on them. What do you mean? Asked Choi. Think of them as being half in our world and half in another dimension. When we shoot at them, the bullets might pass right through. When they want to hurt us, they become solid. The room fell silent. If humanity couldn't even hit these things, how could they fight them? Engineer Kang Min-ho spoke up from the corner. What about gravitational weapons? The aliens mentioned that gravitational waves were the first sign of the Devourers waking up. Dr. Yoon's eyes lit up. That might work. Gravity affects all dimensions. If we can create strong enough gravitational fields, we might be able to hurt them. Do we have that technology? Asked General Park. Kang Min-ho shook his head. Not yet. But the aliens left behind some equipment when they evacuated. If we can figure out how it works. Admiral Choi nodded. Make it your top priority. We need weapons that can actually damage these things. Across the solar system, humanity began the largest military buildup in its history. Every shipyard worked day and night building new warships. Every factory converted to making weapons and armor. Captain Seo Da-eun led the first scouting mission toward the galaxy's edge. Her ship, the Explorer, was fast and equipped with the best sensors humanity had. She needed to find the Devourers and learn everything she could about them. Captain, we're detecting movement in the Perseus arm, reported her sensor officer. Something big is heading this way. SEO studied the readings. Whatever was out there was massive, bigger than any ship humans had ever built. And it was moving fast. Take us closer, but stay hidden. We need to see what we're dealing with. As they approached, Seo's crew got their first look at a Devourer scout ship. It was horrible to see. The ship looked like it was made of living, meat and metal twisted together. Strange lights pulsed along its surface like a heartbeat. Are you recording this? SEO asked. Yes, ma'am. Sending everything back to Earth. They watched as the scout ship approached a small, uninhabited planet. Suddenly, beams of energy shot out from the ship and hit the planet's surface. The planet began to change. The rocks and dirt started flowing like water toward the ship. It's eating the planet, whispered the sensor officer. In just 2 hours, the entire planet was gone. The scout ship had grown larger, absorbing all the matter and energy. Back on Earth, the scouting reports caused panic in the military command. If the scouts could eat entire planets, what could the main force do? Commander Lim Woo-jin was humanity's best military strategist. He studied the reports for days before presenting his plan to Admiral Choi. We can't fight them the way we fight other humans, Lim said. They're too big and too powerful for direct confrontation. We need to use guerrilla tactics. Explain, said Choi. Instead of gathering our fleets together, we spread them out. Small groups of ships attack and run away. We make them chase us while we protect the civilian evacuation routes. That sounds like we're just delaying the inevitable, said General Park. Maybe, but it buys us time to learn their weaknesses, and it saves lives. Admiral Choi approved the scattered stars strategy. Human fleets would operate independently, using hit-and-run tactics to slow the Devourer advance. Meanwhile, Dr. Yoon and Engineer Kang worked together in a secret laboratory. They had managed to reverse engineer some alien gravity technology. I think we can build gravity mines, Kang said, showing Dr. Yoon his designs. We plant them in space and trigger them when the Devourers get close. Will they work? Asked Dr. Yoon. Only one way to find out. The first test happened in an empty star system. The human ship Defiance, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Onari, carried 3 experimental gravity mines. Their target was a lone Devourer scout that had been observed in the area. Remember, we only get one chance at this, O told her crew. If the mines don't work, we run. They planted the mines in the scout's path and waited. When the alien ship arrived, O triggered the mines. 3 powerful gravity fields suddenly appeared around the Devourer. The effect was immediate. The scout ship was crushed from 3 directions at once. Its strange flesh-metal hull cracked and began bleeding some kind of green fluid into space. "It's working!" shouted the weapons officer. But the scout wasn't dead. It fired back with energy beams that barely missed the Defiance. O ordered her ship to attack with conventional weapons while the creature was hurt. The battle lasted 30 minutes. When it was over, the Devourer scout was destroyed. Humanity had won its first victory. The news spread quickly through human space. The aliens weren't invincible. They could be hurt and killed. But the victory came with a cost. The Defiance was badly damaged and 12 crew members were dead. Onari herself was wounded but refused medical treatment until her report was complete. "They're tough, but they can die," she told Admiral Choi over the communication link. "The gravity mines work, but we need more of them, and we need better coordination." Admiral Choi looked at the star map again. The red dots showing Devourer positions were growing in number. Soon, they would reach human colonies. "How many gravity mines can we build?" he asked Engineer Kang. "With every factory working full-time? Maybe 1,000 in the next 6 months." "That's not enough. We need tens of thousands," Dr. Yoon spoke up. "What if we could disrupt their coordination? The scouting reports show they move in perfect formation. There must be some kind of communication network." "Can we jam it?" asked Choi. "Maybe, if we can figure out how they communicate." As the weeks passed, more Devourer scouts appeared in human space. Each encounter taught humanity something new about their enemy. The aliens were powerful but not perfect. They had weaknesses that could be exploited. But time was running out. The main Devourer force was getting closer. Soon, the real war would begin. In his private office, Admiral Choi looked at photos of his family. His wife and children had been evacuated to the safest colony humanity had. But he knew that nowhere would be truly safe if humanity lost this war. A message appeared on his computer. It was from one of the fleeing alien civilizations. The Velkari had detected humanity's early battles with the Scouts. "You cannot win," the message said. "Abandon this futile resistance and flee while you still can." Choi deleted the message without responding. The aliens still didn't understand. Humanity wasn't fighting because they thought they could win. They were fighting because it was the right thing to do. Outside his window, he could see the lights of the military shipyards. Thousands of people worked day and night building the weapons that might save them all. They knew the odds. They knew they were probably going to die, but they kept working anyway. Fleet Admiral Han Ji-woo watched the enemy ships approach New Seoul Colony through the bridge windows of his flagship. 50 million people lived on the planet below. Most were families of soldiers and scientists who had helped build humanity's war machine. "How many ships are we facing?" Han asked his tactical officer. 37 Devourer vessels, sir, much larger than the Scouts we've been fighting." Han felt his stomach tighten. His fleet had only 15 ships. Each Devourer vessel was 5 times bigger than his largest battleship, but running wasn't an option. Too many lives depended on them. "Send word to all ships. We hold the line until the evacuation is complete." On the planet's surface, Colonel Bae Min-ji coordinated the civilian evacuation. Massive transport ships landed every few minutes to pick up families and children. But with 50 million people, the process would take days. "How much time do you need?" Han asked over the communication link. "At least 6 hours for the priority evacuees. 12 hours for everyone," Bae replied. Han looked at the approaching enemy fleet. "You'll have it." Captain Yoon Soo-young climbed into her fighter cockpit on the carrier Freedom. She commanded 200 of humanity's best pilots. They had been training for this moment for months. "Listen up, everyone," she said over the squadron frequency. "The gravity mines will only slow them down. We need to get close and find their weak spots." Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Park Hyo-jun, spoke up. "Ma'am, the intelligence reports say their hulls are too thick for our weapons." "Then we'll have to get creative," Yoon replied. The battle began when the Devourers were still an hour away from the planet. Han's ships launched their gravity mines first. Powerful gravitational fields erupted in space, trying to crush the alien vessels. The mines worked, but not well enough. The larger Devourer ships pushed through the gravity fields, their twisted hulls cracking but not breaking. Only the smaller ships were destroyed. "All fighters, launch!" ordered Han. Yoon led her squadron straight at the enemy fleet. As they got closer, she could see the horrible details of the Devourer ships. They looked like giant sea creatures made of metal and flesh. Strange lights pulsed along their surfaces, and weapon ports opened like mouths full of teeth. Energy beams shot out from the alien ships. 3 of Yoon's fighters were destroyed instantly, but she kept flying forward. "Target their weapon ports," she ordered. "If we can't break their hulls, we'll blind them." The human fighters swarmed around the Devourer ships like angry insects. Yoon discovered that the aliens had trouble tracking small, fast targets. Their weapons were designed for fighting big ships, not fighters. She flew her fighter directly at a weapon port and fired everything she had. The electromagnetic pulse from her weapons caused the alien gun to explode. Green fluid sprayed out into space. "Did you see that?" shouted Lieutenant Park. "Their weapons are vulnerable to electromagnetic attacks." Word spread quickly through the human fleet. Every ship began targeting the Devourer weapon systems with electromagnetic pulses. The alien ships started losing their ability to fight back. But the victory was temporary. The Devourers began adapting their tactics. Instead of using their big weapons, they started ramming human ships with their massive hulls. Commander Jang Kyung-ho operated the orbital defense platforms around New Seoul. These massive space stations had the biggest guns humanity had ever built. "Focus fire on the lead ship," he ordered. "Hit them with everything." The defense platforms opened fire together. Hundreds of energy beams and projectiles hit the largest Devourer ship. Its hull cracked and began bleeding that strange green fluid. But it kept coming. "Sir, it's heading straight for Platform 7, reported his weapons officer. Jang watched in horror as the wounded alien ship crashed into the defense platform. The explosion lit up space like a small sun. 300 people died instantly. The planet below, Dr. Shin Hae-won, was studying samples of Devourer biomatter that had been collected from previous battles. What she found made her sick to her stomach. "Colonel Bay, you need to see this," she called over the communication system. "I'm a little busy right now, Doctor," Bay replied. She was coordinating the evacuation while explosions lit up the sky above. "The Devourers aren't just destroying people, they're converting them. This biomatter contains human DNA mixed with alien genetics." Bay stopped what she was doing. "What does that mean?" "It means they're not just killing us. They're making us part of them. Everyone they capture becomes another weapon they can use against us." The news spread through the human forces like wildfire. This wasn't just a war for survival. It was a war for the very essence of humanity itself. Major Song Jin-ai led the ground-based evacuation efforts in New Seoul's capital city. When she heard Dr. Shin's report, she understood why some civilians were acting strangely. "Ma'am, we're getting reports of people attacking the evacuation centers," reported her sergeant. Song realized that some humans had already been partially converted by the Devourers. They looked normal, but they were working for the enemy. "Screen everyone. Before they board the transports," she ordered. "Use the medical scanners. If their DNA shows any alien contamination, they don't get on the ships." It was a horrible decision. Some of the infected people were just sick, not truly converted. But Song couldn't risk letting Devourer agents reach the other human colonies. Back in space, Admiral Han's fleet was losing badly. Half his ships were destroyed or damaged. The Devourers were getting closer to the planet. "Sir, we can't hold them much longer," reported his tactical officer. Han looked at the evacuation status. They had managed to save 40 million people, but 10 million were still on the planet. "Send a message to all remaining ships. We're going to ram them." "Sir?" "You heard me. Set collision courses with the largest enemy ships. If we're going to die, we're taking them with us." One by one, the remaining human ships flew directly at the Devourer fleet. The battleship Courage crashed into the enemy flagship, causing a massive explosion. The destroyer Bold rammed a smaller alien ship, destroying both vessels. Captain Yoon-Soo Young made the same choice in her fighter. With her squadron destroyed around her, she flew directly into the weapon systems of a Devourer ship. The explosion took out the entire alien vessel. The ramming attacks worked. The Devourer fleet was badly damaged, but the cost was terrible. Only 3 human ships survived the battle. Chief Engineer Ko Dong-min had been working on a secret project during the battle. Using the data from Dr. Shin's research, he had built a device that could disrupt the Devourer communication network. Colonel, Bay, I need you to place this device on the planet's surface before you evacuate, he said over the communication link. What does it do? Asked Bay. It creates a silence field around the planet. The Devourers won't be able to coordinate with each other if they land. With only minutes left before the final transports departed, Bay's team planted Ko's device in the capital city. As the last humans left New Seoul, the device activated. The remaining Devourer ships suddenly stopped moving in formation. They began firing on each other by mistake, confused by the loss of their communication network. From the safety of the transport ship, Major Song watched New Seoul disappear behind them. They had lost the planet, but they had saved most of the people. More importantly, they had learned valuable lessons about their enemy. The Devourers can be hurt, Song said to her tired soldiers. They can be confused, and they can be killed. Word of the Battle of New Seoul spread throughout human space. It was a defeat, but it was also proof that humanity could fight these monsters and win. More importantly, something unexpected began to happen. The alien races that had fled the galaxy were watching the battle from their hiding places. For the first time since the crisis began, some of them started to wonder if running away had been the right choice. In the distant Andromeda galaxy, a Velkari commander watched the battle recordings. These humans are either very brave or very stupid, he told his aide. Does it matter? Asked the aide. The commander was quiet for a long moment. Maybe not. But they're still fighting when we gave up. That has to count for something. Back in Satsubwai, human space, Admiral Choi received the survivors from New Seoul. The battle had cost them dearly, but it had given them something more valuable than ships or weapons. It had given them hope. Dr. Yoon's research into silence fields became humanity's top priority. If they could disrupt Devourer communications on a larger scale, they might have a real chance to win this war. The aliens had abandoned the galaxy and left humanity to die alone. But humanity was proving that sometimes standing alone was enough. Intelligence Officer Lee Yan-soo sat in her small office aboard the spy ship Shadow, carefully reading intercepted alien communications. For months, she had been monitoring the signals from the hiding alien civilizations. What she found surprised her. Admiral Choi, you need to hear this, she said over the secure communication link to Earth Command. What did you find? Choi's voice came through clearly despite the distance. The aliens are arguing among themselves. Some of them think they made a mistake by running away. Lee played back a translated conversation between 2 Velkari commanders. One of them was questioning their decision to abandon the galaxy while humans fought alone. This is interesting, But how does it help us? Asked Choi. Sir, I think some of them might be willing to come back and help us. Admiral Choi was quiet for a moment. Humanity had been fighting alone for 6 months. They had won some battles and lost others. Any help would be welcome. Keep monitoring those signals. If any of them want to talk, let me know immediately. Captain An Seung-ho commanded the stealth ship Phantom. His mission was more dangerous than anything humanity had attempted before. He was going to attack a Devourer processing station. These stations were where the aliens took captured humans and converted them into bioweapons. An had volunteered for the mission after learning that his younger brother had been captured during the fall of the Kepler colony. Remember, we go in fast and quiet, An told his team. Plant the explosive charges, rescue who we can, and get out. The processing station looked like a nightmare. It was a massive ship covered in organic growths and metal tubes. Strange lights pulsed along its surface, and An could see smaller ships bringing captured humans to the station. Sir, I'm detecting human life signs inside, reported his sensor officer. Thousands of them. An felt his heart race. His brother might be in there, along with thousands of other people who had been captured over the months of fighting. Using the silence field generator that Chief Engineer Ko had designed, they disrupted the station's communication systems. The Devourer guards became confused and started attacking each other. An's team moved quickly through the station's corridors. What they found inside was horrible beyond description. Humans were being held in biotanks, slowly being changed into something else. But the process could be stopped if they acted fast enough. Start freeing everyone who hasn't been fully converted, An ordered. Leave the explosive charges on the conversion equipment. They rescued over 2,000 people before the Devourers realized what was happening. Among the rescued was An's brother, weak but still human. I knew you'd come, his brother whispered as they carried him to the escape ship. The rescue mission was a complete success. When the explosive charges went off, they destroyed the processing station and all its conversion equipment. More importantly, they proved that the Devourer conversion process could be reversed. News of the rescue spread quickly throughout human space and beyond. For the first time since the war began, there was real hope that captured humans could be saved. The news also reached the hidden alien civilizations. A young Velkari scientist named Dr. Park Hyun-sik's former colleague broke ranks and emerged from dimensional hiding. She appeared at the human colony of Titan Base in a small Velkari ship. The human defenders almost shot her down before she could identify herself. I want to help, she told the surprised human commanders. My people made a mistake by running away. She brought with her advanced shield technology that could protect human ships from Devourer energy weapons. It was the first alien technology specifically designed to fight the Devourers. Why are you helping us? Asked the base commander. Because you're doing what we should have done from the beginning, she replied. You're standing up to them. Word of the Velkari scientists' defection spread through the galaxy's hidden alien populations. Soon, individual volunteers from different species began making their way to human space. They came in small groups at first, a few Gentari engineers who knew how to build better weapons, some Morthak pilots who could fly in ways humans had never imagined. even a few artificial intelligences from the Nexus Confederacy who wanted to fight instead of run. Admiral No Soo-jin commanded the human fleet defending the Helix Nebula. This was an important strategic location that controlled access to 12 human colonies. When the Devourers attacked, she would have the first mixed human-alien force in galactic history. "Are you sure they can be trusted?" asked her second-in-command. "They volunteered to fight an enemy that terrifies their own people," No replied. "I'd say they've already proven themselves." The Battle of the Helix Nebula began when 50 Devourer ships entered the nebula. Admiral No had 30 human ships and 15 alien volunteers to stop them. "Remember, we're all fighting for the same thing now," she told the mixed fleet over the communication system. "No one gets left behind." Tactical Officer Ryu J. Min had developed a new strategy called the Phoenix Protocol. Human ships would overload their reactor cores and use Velkari phase shift technology to materialize inside enemy ships before exploding. "It's completely insane," Ryu had told Admiral No when he first proposed the idea. "Perfect," she had replied. "The Devourers won't expect insane." The first ship to use the Phoenix Protocol was the destroyer Brave. Captain Kim Young-ho volunteered. His ship for the dangerous mission. Using the alien technology, the Brave phased out of normal space, moved through the Devourer hull, and then phased back in at the center of the enemy ship. The explosion destroyed both ships, but it proved the tactic worked. The Devourers had no defense against attacks from inside their own hulls. "All volunteers for Phoenix Protocol, form up," ordered Admiral No. Half her fleet volunteered immediately. These were people who had lost family and friends to the Devourers. They were ready to sacrifice themselves for victory. One by one, human ships phased into Devourer vessels and exploded. The enemy fleet was being destroyed from within, but the cost in human lives was terrible. Sergeant Kim Hyo-jin led the first successful ground assault on a Devourer base. The aliens had landed on a small moon to set up a forward operating station. Kim's Marines were ordered to destroy it. "Use the silence field generators to confuse them, then hit hard and fast," she told her troops. The assault was brutal. The Devourers fought like wild animals when they couldn't coordinate with each other. But they were still incredibly dangerous. Kim lost half her Marines in the battle. When it was over, they had captured intact Devourer equipment and biological samples. For the first time, humanity had valuable intelligence about how their enemies operated. Pilot Hwang So-ra pioneered atmospheric combat techniques against the biofighters that the Devourers used for close support. These smaller alien craft were fast and deadly, but they had weaknesses. "They can't handle rapid altitude changes," So-ra reported after her first successful engagement. "Their biosystems get confused by sudden pressure changes." Using this knowledge, human pilots developed new tactics for fighting in planetary atmospheres. Instead of trying to outfly the aliens, they would lure them into rapid climbs and dives. That would disorient the biofighters. The combined victories at Helix Nebula, the successful ground assault, and the new atmospheric tactics marked a turning point in the war. Humanity was no longer just surviving. They were winning. More importantly, the alien volunteers who had fought alongside humans were spreading the word to their own people. The recordings of mixed human-alien crews working together to defeat the Devourers were being secretly transmitted throughout the galaxy. "Look at this," one Gentari commander told his aide, showing him a recording of human and alien ships fighting together. "They've organized the first successful multi-species resistance in galactic history. Should we report this to the Council?" asked the aide. The commander thought for a moment. "No, but prepare a ship. I want to see this resistance for myself." In hiding places throughout the galaxy, alien leaders were having similar conversations. The humans had done something that was supposed to be impossible. They had united different species in a common cause and were actually winning battles against the Devourers. Admiral Choi received reports of alien ships approaching human space from multiple directions. Not invasion fleets, but small groups wanting to join the resistance. "How many are we talking about?" he asked Intelligence Officer Lee. "At least 100 ships so far, sir, from at least 6 different species. They're all asking permission to join our forces." Choi looked at the strategic display showing Devourer positions. The enemy was still advancing, but much more slowly than before. The hit-and-run tactics were working, and now they had alien allies with advanced technology. "Send them coordinates for the Titan base. We'll organize them into mixed squadrons with human commanders." "Sir, shouldn't the aliens command their own ships?" Choi shook his head. "This war started with humanity standing alone. We've earned the right to lead this fight. If they want to help, they follow our orders." Surprisingly, most of the alien volunteers agreed to this arrangement. They had watched humans fight impossible odds and somehow survive. They wanted to learn how to fight like humans. By the end of the month, what had started as humanity's desperate last stand had become something much larger. Ships from dozens of alien species were fighting under human command. Diplomat Chang Mi-young stood before the emergency assembly of the Galactic Council. But this time, the chamber looked very different. Instead of aliens fleeing in panic, she saw representatives from dozens of species who had returned from hiding to join humanity's resistance. "6 months ago, you all ran away," Chang said calmly. "You left humanity to face the Devourers alone. Now you want to come back and help us win the war you said was impossible." The Velkari ambassador, the same one who had called humanity's resistance suicide, looked uncomfortable. "We have reconsidered our position. Your species has shown that the Devourers can be defeated." "No," Chang replied firmly. "You've shown that they can be defeated. By running away and leaving others to die, you proved you're cowards. Your people who volunteered to fight proved they're warriors." She looked around the chamber at the mixed crowd of aliens and humans. "If you want to help now, you follow human command. We started this fight alone, and we'll finish it our way." Surprisingly, most of the alien leaders agreed. They had watched their own people return from the resistance with stories of human courage and tactical brilliance. Some alien species even offered to place their entire remaining fleets under human command. Supreme Commander Yu Tae-kyung now led the largest military alliance in galactic history, but he insisted on keeping the human military structure. Individual ship commanders had the freedom to make their own tactical decisions instead of following rigid alien hierarchies. "Why do you give so much authority to individual captains?" asked a Gentari admiral. "Because humans fight best when they can think for themselves," Yu replied. "Your people are used to following orders perfectly. Our people are used to finding creative solutions when the orders don't work." The combination of human flexibility and alien technology was devastating to the Devourers. Human commanders would develop new tactics on the spot, while their alien crew members provided the advanced technology to make those tactics work. Admiral Kang So-young commanded the Liberation Fleet heading toward Arcturus Prime. This had been humanity's most important colony world before the Devourers captured it. 50 million humans had lived there, and no one knew how many were still alive. "This is our chance to show the galaxy what the Resistance can do," So-young told her mixed fleet of 300 ships. "We're not just fighting to survive anymore. We're fighting to win." The Liberation Fleet included ships from 12 different species, all working together under human command. Velkari vessels used their phase shift technology to scout enemy positions. Gentari ships provided heavy firepower with their crystal-based weapons. Morthak pilots flew reconnaissance missions in atmospheric craft that could change shape. Wing. Commander Moon Jae-wook coordinated the largest fighter assault in galactic history. Over 2,000 fighters from 20 different species launched simultaneously at the Devourer fleet defending Arcturus Prime. "Remember, we're not just different species today," Moon told his pilots over the communication system. "We're all members of the Resistance. Watch each other's backs and follow the human tactical doctrine." The diversity of the fighter wings was their greatest strength. Human pilots used unpredictable attack patterns, Velkari fighters could phase through enemy fire, Gentari craft had nearly indestructible crystal hulls, and Morthak pilots could fly in formations that defied physics. The Devourers had never faced such a coordinated multi-species attack. Their bioships, designed to fight against single-species fleets with predictable tactics, couldn't adapt fast enough to the chaos of the Resistance assault. General Sim Da-in led the ground forces in the liberation of Arcturus Prime's cities. Her army included human marines, Velkari Special Forces, Gentari Heavy Assault Troops, and Nexus combat androids. The intelligence reports show that most of the human population is being held in conversion facilities, Sim told her officers. "We need to reach them before the Devourers can complete the transformation process." The urban combat was unlike anything in galactic military history. Human soldiers used guerrilla tactics they had learned fighting the Devourers, while alien troops provided specialized support. Velkari forces could phase through walls to attack from unexpected directions. Gentari troops could absorb energy weapon fire without being hurt. Nexus androids could process tactical information faster than any biological brain. The Devourers fought desperately to hold their positions, but they were overwhelmed by the diversity of the attack. Every time they adapted to one species' tactics, another species would hit them from a different angle. Research Director Hong Sung-min made the most important discovery of the war while studying captured Devourer biotechnology. Working with scientists from 6 different species, she found something that changed everything. "They're not from our universe," Hong announced to the Alliance command staff. "The Devourers are extra-dimensional parasites. They exist in our reality, through anchor points that they establish in normal space." "What does that mean?" asked Supreme Commander Yu. "It means we can get rid of them permanently. If we destroy all their anchor points simultaneously, they'll be forced back to their own dimension and won't be able to return." Hong's discovery led to the most ambitious military operation in galactic history. The Alliance would need to coordinate simultaneous attacks on anchor points across dozens of star systems. Any delay would allow the Devourers to reinforce their remaining positions. Special Forces Captain Nam Hyun-jung led deep infiltration missions to identify the anchor points. Her teams included specialists from multiple species, each contributing unique abilities to the reconnaissance missions. "The anchor points look like massive organic structures," Nam reported after her first successful mission. "They're heavily defended, but they seem vulnerable to coordinated gravitational attacks." Fleet Captain Cha Woo-sok was tasked with coordinating the synchronized strikes. He had to manage attack fleets from dozens of different species, each with their own communication systems and tactical preferences. "We need to hit all targets within a 10-minute window," Cha explained to his fleet commanders. "If the Devourers realize what we're doing, they'll reinforce the remaining anchor points and we'll lose our chance." The preparation for the simultaneous strikes took months. Alliance engineers worked around the clock to ensure that ships from different species could communicate effectively during the battle. They developed new signal systems that could work across all the various alien technologies. The attack began exactly as planned. Alliance fleets appeared simultaneously at anchor points throughout Devourer space. The enemy was caught completely by surprise as hundreds of ships attacked their most important strategic positions. At the anchor point in the Vega system, Admiral Lee Sung-ho led a combined fleet of human and Velkari ships. They used the Phoenix Protocol to phase inside the organic structure and detonate their reactor cores. In the Centauri system, Admiral Park Ji-min commanded Gentari and human forces in a direct assault on another anchor point. The Crystal ships absorbed the Devourer energy weapons, while human vessels delivered the killing blow. Captain Yoon Hae-jin led the attack on the anchor point near Earth itself. This was the most heavily defended position, but also the most important target. If they failed here, the Devourers could reinforce all their other positions. "All ships, maximum firepower," Yoon ordered, as her fleet engaged the massive Devourer defense force. "We only get one chance at this." The battle for Earth's anchor point was brutal. The Devourers threw everything they had at the Alliance fleet. Bioships the size of cities fought against the combined technology of dozens of species. But the Alliance had learned from months of fighting together. Human unpredictability combined with alien technology proved unstoppable. When conventional tactics failed, individual ship commanders improvised new solutions on the spot. The anchor point was destroyed when Captain Kim So-hee flew her damaged ship directly into the organic structure's core. The explosion could be seen from Earth orbit as the massive alien construct collapsed into itself. Across the galaxy, Similar scenes played out as anchor point after anchor point was destroyed. The synchronized attack was working perfectly. The Devourers were being cut off from their extra-dimensional power source. As the last anchor point fell, something unprecedented happened. The remaining Devourer ships throughout the galaxy began to weaken and fade. Without their connection to their home dimension, they couldn't maintain their presence in normal space. "All Alliance ships, this is Supreme Commander Yu," came the announcement across every frequency. "The anchor points have been destroyed. The Devourers are retreating to their home dimension. We have won." The celebration that followed could be heard across the galaxy. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now celebrating together as members of the Resistance. The alliance that had formed around humanity's refusal to surrender had become the foundation for a new galactic civilization. But the victory had come at a terrible cost. Billions of humans had died in the war. Entire colonies had been destroyed. Many of the heroes who had started the resistance didn't live to see its end. In the aftermath, alien leaders who had initially fled came to Admiral Choi with an unexpected request. Grand Admiral Yun Min-jae stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Unity as it approached the cosmic anomaly where the Devourers had first emerged. This was where the war would end, one way or another. The largest fleet in galactic history. Followed behind him, ships from 50 different species united under human command. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy readings from inside the anomaly," reported the sensor officer, a young Gentari who had learned to speak perfect Korean. "Something big is waiting for us in there." Yoon nodded. Intelligence reports suggested that the main Devourer force had retreated to this location after losing their anchor points. They would make their final stand here, in the twisted space between dimensions. "Send a message to all ships," Yoon ordered. "This is what we've been fighting for. Not just to survive, but to make sure this never happens again." Admiral Lee Ji-young commanded the primary assault force, 300 of the Alliance's best ships. Her fleet included the survivors from humanity's first battles, veterans who had been fighting the Devourers since the beginning. "Remember," she told her captains, "we're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We're fighting for every species that might face this threat in the future." Admiral Park Won-ho led the reserve forces, ready to support the main attack if things went wrong. His ships were positioned outside the anomaly, prepared to retreat and warn the galaxy if the assault failed. The battle began as soon as the Alliance fleet entered the anomaly. Space itself was twisted and wrong here. Stars burned, with colors that hurt to look at, and physics didn't always work the way it should. The Devourers had been waiting. Thousands of bioships emerged from hidden positions throughout the anomaly. These were larger and more powerful than anything the Alliance had faced before. The Devourers' elite forces, saved for this final confrontation. "All ships, engage. At will," Admiral Lee ordered. "Use everything we've learned." The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Alliance ships used every tactic humanity had developed, supported by the advanced technology of dozens of alien species. Human unpredictability, combined with alien innovation, created weapons and strategies the Devourers had never seen. Captain Song Hee-jin commanded the heavy cruiser Defiant. She had been fighting the Devourers since the Battle of New Seoul, where she had lost her entire family. Now she was one of the Alliance's most experienced commanders. "Ma'am, the enemy flagship is heading for the Dimensional Rift," her tactical officer reported. "If it reaches the portal, it could call for reinforcements from the Devourer home dimension." Song looked at the massive bioship moving toward the swirling energy vortex at the center of the anomaly. The creature was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons and armor that had been growing for millions of years. Dr. Lim Si-jin had been working on a special weapon for this exact situation. "Captain Song, I need you to get me close to that flagship," she said over the communication system from her laboratory ship. "What do you have in mind, Doctor?" "A quantum virus. It will disrupt the Devourer's connection to its home dimension permanently. But I need to deliver it directly to their command center." Song understood immediately. It was a suicide mission. The only way to get close enough would be to ram the enemy flagship and deliver the virus manually. "I'll do it," Song said without hesitation. "Captain, there has to be another way," her first officer protested. Song looked around her bridge at the crew that had followed her through dozens of battles. They were good people who deserved to see their families again, but someone had to make the sacrifice. "Transfer the crew to escape pods," she ordered. "I'm taking the Defiant in alone." As her crew evacuated, Song piloted her ship directly toward the Devourer flagship. Enemy fire tore through her hull, but she kept flying. Dr. Lim's virus was loaded into the ship's computer core, ready to upload into the alien command systems. "This is Captain Song to all Alliance ships," she said over the communication system. "It's been an honor serving with you. Tell my parents I did my duty." The Defiant crashed into the flagship's command section at full speed. The explosion tore through both ships, but Song managed to upload the virus in the final seconds before impact. The effect was immediate and devastating. The quantum virus spread through the Devourer network like wildfire, severing their connection to their home dimension. Across the anomaly, bioships began shutting down as they lost contact with their extra-dimensional power source. Commander John Suho led the final push to seal the dimensional rifts permanently. His engineering teams worked frantically to plant gravitational charges around the portal while the battle raged around them. "We need more time," Jian told Admiral Lee over the communication link. "You'll have it," she replied. Lee's ships formed, a defensive line around the engineering teams, fighting desperately to hold back the remaining Devourer forces. The aliens fought with the fury of creatures facing extinction, but they were weakening without their dimensional connection. The gravitational charges exploded in perfect sequence, causing the dimensional rift to collapse. The portal that had allowed the Devourers to enter the galaxy was sealed forever. As the rift closed, the remaining Devourer ships began to fade from normal space. Without their anchor points and dimensional portal, they couldn't maintain their existence in the galaxy. "All Alliance ships, this is Grand Admiral Yoon," came the announcement across every frequency. "The dimensional rift is sealed. The Devourers have been banished from our galaxy. The war is over." The silence that followed was profound. After 2 years of constant fighting, the guns were finally quiet. But the cost had been enormous. Billions of humans had died in the war. Entire colonies had been destroyed. Many of the heroes who had started the resistance didn't live to see its end. Captain Song's sacrifice became the symbol of humanity's contribution to the war. Her final message was played at memorial services across the galaxy. "Tell my parents I did my duty." In the aftermath of the victory, President Cho Min-seo addressed the new Galactic Assembly. The chamber was filled with representatives from every species that had joined the resistance. But the humans sat in the leadership positions. 2 years ago, every advanced civilization in this galaxy chose to run away from the greatest threat we had ever faced, Cho said. Only humanity chose to stand and fight. We didn't fight because we thought we could win. We fought because it was the right thing to do. She looked around the chamber at the alien faces that now looked to humanity for guidance. The species that abandoned the galaxy in our hour of need now ask us to lead the new galactic government. We accept this responsibility, but we will never forget the lesson we learned. Unity is not about being the same. Unity is about standing together when standing alone would be easier. The human-led Galactic Defense Pact was established with a simple principle. Never again would any species face extinction alone. The alliance that had formed around humanity's refusal to surrender became the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization. A memorial was erected in Earth orbit listing every human who had died in the war. The inscription read, "They taught the galaxy that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the odds." Alien children now learned about the human war in their schools. They studied how one young species had refused to run away, and how their courage had inspired an entire galaxy to unite against evil. The Velkari, who had been the first to flee, now served as the Alliance's diplomatic corps. "We ran away because we were afraid," their new ambassador admitted. "The humans taught us that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing what's right despite the fear." The Gentari, masters of defensive technology, became the Alliance's shield against future threats. Their crystal ships now patrolled the galaxy's borders, watching for any sign of extra-dimensional invasion. The Morthak Collective, who had scattered across space to hide, now served as the Alliance's scouts and messengers. Their ability to change, shape, and survive in any environment made them perfect for exploration missions. Even the artificial intelligences of the Nexus Confederacy had learned something from humanity. "We calculated that resistance was futile," their spokesperson said. "But humans showed us that some calculations are wrong. Sometimes the impossible is just difficult." Admiral Choi, now the Alliance's supreme military commander, established training academies on every member world. Alien officers learned human military doctrine emphasizing individual initiative and creative problem-solving. "Why do you teach us to disobey orders?" asked a young Velkari cadet. "We don't teach you to disobey orders," Choi replied. "We teach you to think for yourself when the orders don't make sense. That's how you win battles that can't be won." The galaxy was rebuilding, but it was building something new. Instead of separate species competing for resources, the Alliance worked together to explore new worlds and defend against threats. Dr. Yoon, who had developed the gravity weapons that made victory possible, now led the Alliance's scientific research programs. The Devourers taught us that the universe is bigger and more dangerous than we imagined, she said. But they also taught us that we're stronger together than we ever were apart. 10 years after the war ended, humanity received an unexpected message from beyond the galaxy.